Om Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarotam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi. So in the last class, we were studying from the 8th till the 13th sutra of the 4th chapter of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which deals with the concept of vasanas. So now, today, we will take up from the 14th till the 17th sutra, which will be discussing that how our perceptions gets biased by our vasanas. The vasanas, the various likings which are manifested, which are already manifested. The vasanas are two types. One is manifested and the other is unmanifested, Shukshma, and the one is Sthula. The Sthula is the manifested, and the Sukshma is the various vasanas which are not appropriate for my present existence, for my present birth, for my present state of my existence. Those vasanas won't find expression. They remain hidden. But those finds expression. They, to a great extent, will be affecting our perception. In science, we say that objective knowledge means what I see, based on that, the knowledge can never be varied. There cannot be, when I am seeing the red flower, you're seeing the red flower, and I know that this knowledge which comes from this consensus reality, that we all agree to it, that's the valid knowledge. But here we will find from the 14th to the 17th sutra, as we gradually go through these sutras, we will find a wonderful thing. The Yoga Sutra is saying that our perceptions are biased by our vasanas. What I see may not be correct, as it gets colored by my vasanas. Your perceptions also get colored by your vasanas. The same thing may be perceived in different ways based on the biases which develops because of our vasanas. So that's the thing which we will be dealing in the succeeding sutras. But the 14th sutra, which we took up in the last class as a quick revision, we will again take up. What's that? It speaks how the perception happens. When I see the red flower outside, I have the idea. What's the idea? The red flower with the smell, with the texture, with the color, everything is lying intact there outside. Through my senses, it comes as a whole, and I perceive it as a whole. But very interesting. These perceptions happens piecemeal. There's a wonderful coordination going on inside the mind to give a sense that it is a whole. What is there outside, we never know. When all those piecemeal perceptions very nicely coordinate, then we have a feeling that that's the thing which I am seeing outside there, exactly that's the thing I am perceiving. But it never happens. Before going to the explanation of the sutra, we will give a common example. You will understand that. You suppose you are sitting in a movie theater. You're sitting in the movie theater watching the movie, and you see certain characters speaking. You have the idea that the character is speaking. The words, with the movement of the lips, the words are coming out from his mouth. We all have that perception. Yes, we know with our technology, with our science, that's not the thing happening. But when we are totally absorbed in the movie, what we feel, that's the character which is speaking. But actually what is happening? In the screen, what we are seeing is only the moving picture. There is no voice coming from there. Somewhere else the sound box is there. From there, the sound is coming. But these two coordinates in such a wonderful way. The moment the lip moves from some different source, the sound is coming and entering my ears, and this two gets coordinated together, and I feel that the person is speaking. But actually, the person is not speaking. There in the screen, the person is totally silent. The sound is coming from the sound box somewhere else. But I feel the person is speaking. So now you will understand the idea of piecemeal perception. That so many perceptions are segregated. When I'm seeing the flower, even the modern science will say you this. If you go to the neurology, that in the brain, the color perception center is different. The shape of the flower, that which I perceive, is different. Where I am perceiving the shape, in the same place, the color is not perceived. And again, the smell, that is totally different. It is entering through the nose. At least the color and the shape both are perceived through the eyes. And then, of course, the perception is segregated. And here it is even the entry point is different. From the nose, the smell is going. And if you touch the texture, again, it's a different sense. But all this various piecemeal perceptions, our mind is wonderful. There it all gets conglomerated, synthesized, and then it is projected as a whole. What I am seeing there outside, I don't know what it is. Once it is projected as a whole, I say, oh, red flower with such a wonderful smell. A wonderful thing. Our modern science is a very poor imitation of nature, very poor. Even few years back, even few decades back, a century back, about 100 years back, there was no question of movie. When the movie came, it was silent movie. And that also black and white. And then the color came. Just see, one by one, we are synthesizing. That on the black and white means only the shape on which we could project the color. And then also it was silent. Then the sound came. And now in the movie theater, you have that surround sound, as if the person who is speaking is just sitting in front of you and talking to you. And we say how marvelously the technology has improved. But just imagine what nature is doing for millions of years is something which we, with all our technology, can never imitate. There are hundreds of piecemeal perceptions. Even when I'm seeing through the eye, the digit perception, if I am seeing this digit 7, some persons are there, they have some abnormality. Whenever they see the 7th digit, they will see invariably it as red, whatever may be its color. Why it happens? Because the color perception center and the digit perception center in our brain are very near. And just the way our electronic circuits gets short-circuited, because of some mutations, because of some abnormalities for that particular person, there is a short circuit between the color perception center and the digit perception center. The color red somehow got short-circuited with the digit 7. And whenever it sees 7, it says red. Whether its green color is green or yellow or red or blue, whatever it may be, that person will see it red. So why we are saying that from these abnormalities, actually, we can easily find out that actually all the perceptions are piecemeal. So many. Here, through our projector, we can only project light and sound. But the mind is projecting light, sound, taste, touch, smell. And that also, each of them has so many varieties. And that all are segregated. Now you think that how our technology is a very extremely poor imitation of nature. And that segregated is being projected out. Our perceptions are not something which is gathered in. What is coming from outside, I don't know. But what I see is information. What is information? We break the word, information. Everything is forming inside. And then that is projected out, which I see it as reality. So just see this idea, and with the help of modern science, we can understand. Now, it really amazes us that thousands of years back, when the Yoga Sutra was written, This is exactly the same thing which has been indicated in the 14th Sutra. What they're saying? Parinama ekatvat vastu tattvam. If you just see the word parinama, parinama means transformations. Ekatvat. Ekatvat means synchronicity. Together. All the parinamas, innumerable parinamas are happening together. Ekatvat. That results in vastu tattvam. That tattva means that anything which is not, there are two words, mata and tattva. Mata means opinion. Opinion can be varied. I have an opinion which can be varied from yours. But tattva is the truth, which cannot be varied, which speaks of the consensus reality. That when I see the red flower, you also see the red flower. There cannot be any question of opinion. So that's the word, there's the difference between the word tattva and mata. So it is not a mata. When I see the red flower, it is not a matam, it is not an opinion. It's a tattva. There's a truth. And this consensus reality is generated because of parinama ekatva. The way the mutations of the prakriti in your mind, it's happening. The same way it is happening, which is generating the consensus reality. That reality that we have is not something absolute. If someone's brain is a bit deformed, as we were giving that example, he will see the world differently. And we say he is having some defect. Why? Because actually in our brain also the parinama is happening. In his brain also the same parinama is happening. In our mind, the parinama is happening. In his mind also the parinama is happening. But for most of us, the parinama happens in a particular way. For the other person, it is happening in a bit different way because of that short circuit, as we were giving the example. And now we say, as he's the minority, if all our brains were short circuited, we would have been just having the same perception at that person. And that letter 7 would always have been red for us. And that would have been the reality. But as he is the one who is the minority, we are the majority, we say he is having the defect. Just like in election, the minority never wins. He has lost. That's why in the modern medical term, they never say mental deformities. They say he is a bit different. That's all. He's not abnormal. We are all abnormal in a sense. As we are all abnormal in the same way, we say we are normal. His abnormality is a bit different from our abnormality. But we are all hallucinating. How? There's piecemeal perceptions as giving the idea of reality. So that's the idea which was spoken of in the 14th Sutra. So the 15th Sutra will let us go. That yes, for most of the things which we see, when I see the red flower, you also see the red flower. Does it mean that all our perceptions are the same? That is there no variation? Also, no. Though by default, most of when I see the red flower, of course I see the red flower. You also see the red flower. But our vasanas sometimes come into the picture and can, taint our perception so that we all have varied perceptions. So that's the thing. We will give examples. That the 15th Sutra, what says? It says, Vastu Samye. Though the Vastu, the thing may be same, Chitta Bhedat, as per the difference of the various Chitta, Tayo Vibhakta Pantha. The perceptions follow different paths. There can be totally different perceptions. Vastu Samye Chitta Bhedat. Though the thing is same, but because of the different mindsets, Tayo Vibhakta Pantha. The perceptions. Tayo means that. That means the thing which has been spoken of in the previous sutra. The perceptions which has been spoken of in the previous sutra. That perceptions follow different courses. In our scripture, the very common example is of a stump. A stump, a tree, most probably in the storm has fallen. Only the stump is remaining in the corner of a park where people go for their evening walk or morning walk. The stump is in the corner of that park. In the evening, children are playing, people are strolling around, and now when it's about to be dark, in the twilight hours, in the dusk. Now, suppose a thief is running away, being afraid of the police, and he's scared of the police. From a distance in the twilight hours, in that the darkness has already started engulfing. So it's not very clear. In the darkness, from a distance, the thief, out of fear, thinks that stump to be the police. The police who is in search of the thief thinks it to be the thief. A person who came to the park to meet his beloved thinks it to be his lover. And the children who were playing, now the game is over, they have to return home. Now they're in search of their mother. A child thinks the stump to be the mother, and the mother who is in search of the child thinks that to be the child. So this is a very common example in yoga and in Vedanta. So now you will understand, Vastu Samya, that it is just a stump, Chitta Bheda, because of our various vasanas. What we want, that creates the biases, and that distorts our perception. We can never see the thing as it is. So that's how that it has been indicated. Though that for most of the things, the consensus reality do apply. But yes, in our life, we will find that it is not always correct. And actually, this is the cause of all our turmoils and tension. When before election, the political parties with their agenda, they're speaking, you will find that sometimes there is the clash of opinions among the one who are the votaries, who are the adherents to a particular political party. If on the TV, there will you find various discussions going on. Very interesting. You will find that both have their opinion. When they're alleging someone else or supporting someone else, they think they are correct. But if they are correct, then why there is a question of varied opinion? The other person also thinks he is correct. The reality has been constructed by their biases. Once you get biased, immediately there is bound to be this clash of opinion. In the society, all the clash of opinions is because of the vasanas. We can never see the thing as it is. It is bound to be that varied perception. When the two teams are playing, suppose a clash ensues, in the match there is some fight, and that spreads among the supporters, the fan. And if you go and take the interview, both will say the opponent team was wrong. The team I support was correct. From both the supporters, you will find the same answer. There's varied opinions. Why? Because my perceptions are already biased. The team which I support. Same thing happens with religious fanaticism. That my religion is the only religion. All other are false. The same thing. He's not saying something deliberately, knowing very well that other religions are also okay, but I have to say it's not a false statement. Fanatics are the sincerest soul in the world. They're very sincere, but the bias changes their perception. Immediately their perception changes. So many things. It has been found, very interesting thing. Sometimes you will find there are co-authors. A book has been co-authored. Now, if it is 2 or 3 authors, you go and take this, you just ask them that, well, I understand this book has been co-authored by 2 or 3 persons. But can you tell me what's the percentage of your contribution? So you individually go to these 3 authors and ask them the percentage of their contribution, and you add them. Invariably, it is going to be more than 100%. It is going to be, because everyone will say that I see 60%, 50%. No one will say less than 50%. When the car accident happens, someone got badly injured, is in hospital, most probably it was his fault. But invariably, if you go and ask him, 99% chance is there, he will say, no, the fault was for someone else. And not only that, now if you ask him that please grade yourself, that if 1 to 10 is the grade of the driving skill, where will you place? So they will place their grade in such a place which is equivalent to the test drivers when the car, is. So these all speaks of what in modern psychology they have introduced a term called benefactance, beneficial and effective, benefactive, that we all try to prove ourselves to be a beneficial member of the society and effective member of the society. We are not quacks. We are not some erratic person. We are quite responsible. And we never do it as a hypocrite. Others may feel I am hypocrite, but I never feel I am sincere. There's a book, which the title of the book is Why Everyone Else is a Hypocrite. Because I never understand why, that the left brain is the language brain. It is a propaganda machine. Constantly, it always tries to say something which is like a propaganda machine. It is acting. It not only tries to convince others, first it convinces yourself that though you are not saying the correct thing, but you are convinced that I am saying the correct thing. That example which we gave of the split brain that experiment, it's a very famous experiment in psychology, that for some person, because of some neurological complications, the right brain and the left hemisphere, this left and the right, has to be segregated. There is a crisscross, there is a connections. They're segregated. And previously thought that there is no side effect, that the person after that all the complications vanishes and has no side effect. But later they found that side effect is there. The wonderful side effect. What? The split brain experiment speaks of that. A person who has such segregated left and right hemisphere, he is made to sit in one chair in such a way that he cannot turn his head. His head is fixed. And on the left side, somewhere, one display board is there, which can be seen only as he cannot turn his head, and it has kept in such an angle where only the left eye can see. The right eye cannot see that. This person with the split brain, when he sees that display, what's the display? Get up and move forward. This person immediately gets up and starts moving forward. And suddenly someone asks, well, why you got up? Why are you moving? And immediately he will say, most probably there is a fridge in his front. Oh, I'm feeling a bit thirsty. I want to just get some cold water. And the person who is conducting the experiment, he knows very well, it's not the truth. Actually seeing that display, get up and move, he has started moving. And when we ask, he's saying, I'm going to get some water. What's happening? So now this experiment, when they tried to find out that why it is happening. Now for the split brain person, what has happened? In our brain, there's a crisscross. Whatever we perceive through the left eye is actually being received by the right brain. What you perceive through your right eye, it is registered in the left brain. So there's a crisscross. So as this person has a split, what he perceived through the left brain, it was registered in the right brain. But the right brain couldn't transmit it to the left brain because it was segregated. Now, right brain is something which is autobiographical. It just, whatever it sees, that is recorded. There's no question of variation. And the left brain is the language brain. Now, for this person, as there is a split, he has perceived, and that has resulted in the response. He has got up, he's moving, but he himself doesn't know why it is happening. Immediately, the left brain, the language brain, will create a language. Why? Because after all, we have been built in such a way that we have to prove ourselves an effective person in the society. We are not having some crack in our brain. We are quite beneficial, we are effective, we are responsible. And to make that the thing as a conviction for others, immediately the left brain, when it doesn't get the message, for your actions, immediately it will interpret and it will come out as a language. That's the propaganda machine. And first, it's not that you are doing it consciously. You think it's correct, but the other person immediately finds out that it's not correct. That's why in this world you will find no one says that I am a hypocrite, I am sincere. It's always the others who are hypocrite. And that's why when we say that throughout the history there was the fight between the right and wrong, it's actually totally a misstatement. It's a wrong statement. There was never fight between the right and wrong. It was a fight of perspectives. When Ravana was fighting with Rama, he thought he was quite justified. We may say that Ravana was the villain, but Ravana, I think, never will think that he's the villain. He had his own perspective. If you listen to the interview of all some very hardcore criminals who may be most probably sentenced to death in the countries where death sentence is there, like in America, and they have been interviewed most probably few days before their death, that what do you think? That, and invariably you will find in 90% case, what do you think about your punishment? 90% case, they will say it is a total, the justice has went the wrong way, and he will or she will be totally justifying herself for all her actions, deeds, and that he or she does it with full sincerity. So that's the idea, wonderfully has been spoken of in this sutra. What a wonderful sutra. Vastu samye chitta bhedat tayo vibhakta pantha. All our conflicts in the world is because of this. We can never see the thing as it is. It is bound to be tarnished by our opinions, varied opinions, tainted by our opinions, tainted by our vasanas, our likings, dislikings. So objective knowledge, unbiased objective knowledge is something which is impossible. In science also we find that those who are confirmed atheists, they will always try to somehow prove that consciousness is an epiphenomenon. But within science, there are scientists who say, no, the consciousness is the only that thing which we have to take as just the way when you're measuring the area of a table, the length, the breadth, you take it as a fundamental quantity. That when to measure that, if you cannot just say that you don't define what is length. These are the fundamentals. Based on that I can define the area. So science, there are certain sections which have started saying that consciousness is also a fundamental something. You cannot explain it, but based on that, everything can be explained. Just see that within the science, why all these things are happening? If truth is one, why these varied opinions? Because of our biases. Even the science gets tainted. The so-called science itself has various opinions because of, again, this chitta bhedat. We have these varied opinions. So that's the thing which has been indicated in the 15th Sutra. 16th Sutra, almost in the same lines, it will say that why it happens. That the reason it will give. It's a very wonderful sutra. Tat uparaga apekshitatvat chittasya vastu gyata agyatam. Uparaga, the way you color the things. External objects, tat, all the external objects is the meaning as tat. Uparaga, the way you color them, apekshitatvat, means according to the color of the mind, chittasya vastu gyata, some things are known, some things are not known. Just we say that our eye have blind spot. Our mind too has a blind spot. In our life it happens. A boy and a girl comes to the relation, they are in love. They each see angel in the other. All good qualities. Nothing, no evil. And that's why they think, now, that we are the proper match. And then the marriage happens. They start staying together. And then gradually, when that infatuation has went, what has happened at the beginning? The blind spots, all the so-called negativities were in my blind spot. I was saying all good. But no human being can be all good. We are a mixture of goodness and, of course, some negativities. Positivities and negativities are there. But we were totally, our mind had a blind spot for all the negativities. That's why we saw the angel in the other. And when they start staying together, and then we find that the anger is building up, disgust is building up. And a time comes when you see only the bad qualities. Those good qualities are not seen at all. Anger is a temporary insanity. It's that when you get angry, you will just see the other person as devil, not a single good quality you can see. We can only see the faults. It's not that he's full of faults. He also has some positivity. But that anger creates the way that infatuation is a temporary insanity. Anger is also a temporary insanity. And now we find it's a dangerous illness, where we think that we see the things as they truly are, but in fact our visions are already distorted. We're not seeing the thing as it is. Similarly, pride. Love is related to other person. Hatred is related to the other person. But pride is something which is related to me. And it distorts our vision. We start thinking that I am the person who is just the avatar, the incarnation. And this works in a wonderful way. You know that in our psychology, the Western psychology, they use two words, persona and shadow. We all start wearing mask. What's the mask? From childhood, from the parents told that whenever we did something, we were, a lot of approbations were there for it. Father praised it. There was approbations. And for certain things, we were censored. We were scolded. And from that, the idea of good, bad started developing. And now we find that our conscience is getting conditioned by what the other people thinks good and bad. And you try to be good. That Swami Vivekananda's one famous statement is there. If we really try to be good, instead of trying to show us as good, most probably we would have transformed the energy which we waste in showing others that I am good. That same energy, if I would have used to really become good, I would have been a different person. So much energy we waste in showing us that I am a nice person. So that's the persona, the mask we wear. From the child, he knows that such a certain things for which he will be scolded, censored. So he starts behaving in a different way. And that what happens, that when he goes to the university, he finds that there is no one to scold him. Now, this persona has really developed so much, that mask. It creates, along with that persona, another thing is created, that is called the shadow. That all the weaknesses are, for the time being, in the shadow. They don't find expression. But suddenly, some temptations come, suddenly from the shadow, from the unconscious mind, a tremendous force, even it totally overwhelms us, and we find ourselves disintegrated. All sorts of drug addiction, everything speaks of that. The shadow, from the shadow, as if like a devil, something has came up and totally disoriented that person. This fight between the persona and the shadow, it happens the more that we develop that pride. So many things in the mind goes in the shadow because of that huge persona, that false personality, that masked personality which we are creating. So here also again there's a question of seeing something, and most of the things are hidden. You see only the few good qualities most probably you have, and you again spice them up, and other things, there's so many negativities which you should be careful about. You are not at all aware of it. There is a wonderful saying which Yatishwarananda used to say, that if my personality is like a chain, with, the chain has so many links, innumerable links. Your personality is like a chain with innumerable links. All the links are strong. Only one link has started developing a little rust. When the chain is at stress, it is going to break from that one link which has started developing rust. So don't be so much possessed by your good qualities. Even one bad quality can be sufficient to tear you off, that one rust link. So these shadows are something which we should be aware of. And for that, the pride shouldn't be there. The more the pride, the more the shadow, the more the chance of fall. This idea, all the mythological stories, they actually speak a lot. There are wonderful philosophical, psychological ideas behind them. In Ramayana, there's a story when Hanumana was on the mission to find out Sita. So he was asked to jump over the ocean to go to Lanka, the present day Sri Lanka, present day Ceylon. So he was supposed to jump over the ocean. That was the duty which was assigned to him. And now, when he was about to take the jump, so first of all, he was not having sufficient confidence. And then, because that is another story, we did not go to them, that as a child, he was trying to eat the sun. And then the devas, finding that the child is very restless, that till he grows up, for the time being, let his awareness about his strength be totally deleted. When he needs it, then it will come back. So now it came back as he's on mission. Now he became confident. He was about to take the jump. Now, when he was jumping over the ocean, suddenly from the ocean, a demoness came out. Her name was Simhika. This demoness name was Simhika. She came out. She had a particular characteristic. What's the characteristic? Now, anything which is flying, she cannot fly. At the most, she can come out from the ocean surface. But how to have the flying object as her prey? Now, she had that special capacity. She could somehow get hold of the shadow, and with the shadow, she could drag the prey. That's what the mythology says. So that's how she used to devour her prey. If the birds were flying, the shadow falls on the ocean, immediately it will catch hold of the shadow and bring it. When Hanumana was flying, Hanumana had the characteristic to become minutely small, or he can make himself big. So seeing Simhika, he immediately understood that what's going to happen. He became so small, minutely small, that there was almost no shadow. There was no shadow in the ocean. And he easily escaped. Simhika couldn't get hold of him. So this is, if you take it as a story, okay, yes, that's perfect. We never say that it is something false, but there is some psychological implications of it. That the ocean is like our subconscious mind, is like a chitta, in which Simhika is like all the demoness, which has been shadowed, all the negativities which has been shadowed. It comes out from there. The bigger is your shadow because of your persona, because of all those puffed personality, the more the chance you will be engulfed by Simhika, by the demoness, by all the negativities of your subconscious mind. A little temptations of the world will totally disbalance you. So that's the thing. The pride hides the so many things of what? Chitta. So this anger, infatuation, pride, all those things we will find infatuation. That's the idea which is being indicated. That just now you just see that first it started with the idea that there is something called objective knowledge, but it's always true? No. In so many ways, our perceptions are getting tarnished. That's being indicated. Tat uparaga apekshitatvat chittasya vastu gyata agyatam. Sometimes some things are known, some things are unknown, though it is perceived because of the blind spots of your mind, which has been generated because of your likings, dislikings, because of your infatuations, because of your anger, which comes from those likings and dislikings, as well as from the pride, your puffed up personality. we find that the chitta is hiding so many things which actually is palpably visible, but we don't see for the time being. So that's the idea which has been spoken of in this sutra. So the next sutra, the 17th sutra, this now speaks of that behind all the perceptions, it's not the mind which is perceiving. Behind the mind, there is something whose association is activating the mind, and then only all this perception is possible. And for that, they will give a reason. What's the reason? As the various states of minds are known, so there must be someone behind the chitta. Let us read the sutra and we will go to a bit elaborate discussion. Sada gyata chitta vrittaya tat prabho purushasya aparinamitvat. Sada gyata. When I think, whatever thought is coming to my mind, I know I am thinking. This is a wonderful characteristic. What's a wonderful characteristic? It's a hard question. It's a very difficult question of consciousness. There are two things. With all the discoveries of our neurological science, sometimes we think that we can create artificial intelligence which is almost like human being. But the big question within the science is there, yes, by observing the way the brain works, the various hormones, enzymes, with a particular type of our temperament, mood, the secretions, and those resulting in various type of way we react, we respond. So we can almost imitate that and create a robot, which an artificial intelligence, which is almost like human being. That science is yet to have that a robot which is exactly like human being, but they're aspiring that most probably in short time they will do it. We take it for granted, they do it. But there's a hard question. What's the hard question? The science even doesn't know. Even we don't know the yes and no. When I am seeing a thing, I'm seeing a flower, I know I am seeing the flower. When I'm thinking, what I am thinking, I know. The question is, does that robot, when you ask, bring him a cup of tea, he goes, prepares the tea, brings and keeps it in front of you. You think, he's just that, like us, the conscious being. But there's only one difference, which still is a very hard question we don't know. Is the robot the same way aware? When I asked him the question, if the programming is such that when you, even now it is the mobile, when you ask a question, immediately it will be answering. That's all matter of programming. It's not that someone is consciously deciding that yes, for such and such question, such and such answer, it has been programmed, it's happening. But the way we, as a conscious being, all those things are happening also within me, which has been imitated by the science that's happening. You get the response accordingly. But we know, when I'm thinking, I know I am thinking. When I am angry, I know I am angry. When I'm happy, I know I am happy. When I'm asked to do something, when I'm doing, I know I am doing. Does the robot know that it is doing? Does the robot know it has heard the message? Or it is just a programming where hearing certain words, certain, these reactions just follow as per the programming which has been done. So this is the wonderful hard question of psychology. We find how nicely, thousands of years back, has been spoken of that what's the difference between consciousness and something which is not conscious. It may be an artificial intelligence, but there is a difference. What's the difference? Sada gyata. There is someone who knows in me the qualia factor of our consciousness. That's the word term which we use, that the constantly, that self-aware of all my thoughts, of all my actions, of all my knowledge, of all my perceptions. I know that what I am perceiving, I know what I am thinking, what's my decision, everything, someone is there behind witnessing. That sada gyata, that's the one who sada gyata of what? Chitta vrittaya, whatever in the chitta the vrittis are going on, in whatever forms. perceptions, all your decisions, all your feelings, emotions, these are all chitta vrittis. All these vrittis someone knows. The one who knows is the Lord of the mind, Tat Prabhu. How come he knows everything? Because he is aparinami. This is a wonderful idea. He is the one unchanging, the witness, always there. This, these sutras, when it were written, already Buddhism was prevailing. And in those days, there used to be that the fight between the various, fight means intellectual fight, between these various ways of thinking. In Buddhism, the idea is very interesting. What they say? That the mind is just one after the other, the thoughts are there, is going on to give a sensation of a continuity. But there is nothing behind to say that it is continuous. And they give an example that we gave so many times. If you revolve a torch, a lighted torch, you see a band of fire, a circle of fire. That is not there. The constant movement gives you a sensation of something permanent, which is not there. So in Buddhism, they say that the idea of self is something which is illusory. Because why it is? Because of the constant change which is happening. Now, in some other context, Swami Vivekananda very interestingly have in one sentence denied that. How? He says, yes, it's true that I delude that there is a ring which is actually not there. It is not there. But who is deluding? The one who is deluding, one who is getting deluded is the self. It is I who am observing that moving torch as the band of fire. The one who is observing and getting deluded is the self. There is something. That's the aparinami, which is not changing. It is always there. So that idea of aparinami you can understand with a different example. So really if the thoughts of the thought happened, could we really understood, we have really recollected? In the morning or something happened, in the evening something happened, we say it is that, yes, I can just recollect what has happened throughout the day in sequence. If there was no witness, could you have really recollected? Just a very easy common example we will give. Suppose the shrine where I am sitting, from morning 10 o'clock it was open till 1. Now suppose someone came at 10, just at 10 a.m. Let his name be Mr. A. Mr. A came at 10 and he was in the shrine till 10:30. Then he left at 10:30. Then at 11 o'clock, a person, say his name is B, he came. At 10, some person came, till 10:30 he was here, he was meditating. The one who came at 11, he started chanting and he most probably chanted for another 15 minutes or 30 minutes, 11:30. He left. After he left, most probably at 11:45, C came. He came and he was also here for the shrine. He was in the shrine, sitting here for another 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Now, can A ever know that B came? Can B know that A came? Can C know that A and B came here? Because they all came in different time. But suppose a person called X was sitting in the corner of the shrine from morning 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. He's the witness. He only can say that, yes, from 10 to 10:30, one person was here. He was meditating. From 11 to 11:30, another person came. He was chanting. And another person came from, say, 11:45 to 12:15. He was also there, sitting in the shrine. Who can say? The one who is there, constantly there. Otherwise, you cannot connect all those three. This all will be segregated event. In our mind, all events would have been segregated without any connection if there is no witness, which is constantly there without change, aparinami. So that's the idea, sada gyata, that I always know all my chitta vrittis. Why? Tat prabho, behind that, purusha, the conscious principle is there, which is without change. Unless there is a substratum, we can never think of synthesizing all the things which are constantly changing. In the movie, unless you have a screen, can you think of the movie? It's impossible. There has to be a screen. So behind all this phenomenal existence, there has to be something which is aparinami, never changing, constant. There's a very funny way. There's a Buddhist story that in Zen Buddhism, they always speak of some, they call it quacks, not exact quarks. What those quarks are? Some puzzles. If you can understand the puzzle, you will be immediately illumined. So what's one of such puzzles are that two monks were arguing. So what they were arguing of a flag which was moving in the wind. A flag was just moving in the wind. So what they was arguing, one of the monks told, the flag moved. The other told, no, the wind moved. So now they started arguing. They couldn't resolve the dilemma. They went to a senior monk. The senior monk told, the mind moved. And at last they went to the enlightened one. And the enlightened one told, nothing moved. So that's the story. One told the flag moved, the other told the wind moved. The senior monk told the mind moved. And the enlightened one told, nothing moved. Because the enlightened one is the one who has went beyond the mind. It is the conscious principle which comes in association with the mind and activates the mind. And what is going on out there, I never know. Have the flag really moved? I don't know. Something was happening there which my mind projected as something moving. So when the senior monk told the mind moved, he was correct. But he have not yet realized beyond the mind what is happening. So when someone told the flag moved, the wind moved, both we are not sure about what is happening there. Because it's what happening there is just a suggestion, which when the mind interprets, projects it as our consensus reality. So the consciousness, the Purusha is the no thing. We say that Purusha is nothing. We say it's correct. He is not a thing. The conscious principle is not a thing. So what is out there, we never know. But when consciousness is focused on the mind, then what happened? The mind is perceiving the world. How? By generating information. That information, just as we were told, something is forming inside, information. And that's being projected out as a reality. So the conscious principle, which is not moving, but as it comes in association with the mind to activate the mind, which alone is moving. What we see is the movement of the mind. We don't know what is happening outside. We don't say that nothing is moving outside, but we don't know. The external world is a mere suggestion. We see only the map. We can never see the reality. We can only see the map of the reality. That's a common example which we give. Suppose what's happening, that when I see the red flower, that example again, we give it to bring the point home. Is the flower red? No. We don't know what it is. Light is falling, which has various wavelengths. They have no color actually. Even Newton knew it. Newton told they have no color. They are just various wavelengths. They fall on the flower. All the wavelengths are absorbed. A particular wavelength is reflected. So from that, someone told very interesting thing. Our identity is what we give, not what we take. So the flower took all the colors. It gave that red band. So that's why we say it is a red flower. So in this life, you also should know what you give is your identity, not what we take from the society. So whatever it may be. So it's a particular band it gave out. That reached my eyes. Light's function is over. Now, the moment it touched my eyes in the retina, a nerve impulse was generated through the optic nerve. It was taken to the color perception brain center. It is just a nerve current. Light never enters into your brain. It's a dark portion. No light enters there. If you were sitting there, no light. It's totally dark. When that nerve impulse goes to that so-called color perception center, the red color is thrown out by the mind. So now you will understand that all this is forming within. The red color is forming within. It comes out to give you a sense of reality. So now you will understand that what is happening outside, I don't know. There is something. So everything what I see is a map. What in a map? What's in the map? What we do? Suppose I go out today to find out the network of roads of Melbourne. I study, I just travel through my car, I just move around and come back and draw a map. I draw the freeway, I draw the merging lanes, I draw the exits. Now, after I draw the map to distinguish from the these three, the freeway, the merging roads, and the exits, what I do, the freeway I draw in green color, all the roads which are merging most probably in blue color, and the exits in red color. A small child sees this map and he thinks that most probably this red color, green color, blue color road is out there. Will he ever find? No. It is we who have put those colors for our convenience. And that's what the mind is doing. It is throwing out various colors. So what we see is the map of reality. We never know what the real thing is. And that's the idea, that conscious principle behind the mind is activating the mind to create this wonderful phenomenal existence. So unless that is there, everything falls off. Just like the IC chip of your computer, it is just like a dead log wood. And what a marvelous world of virtual reality it can produce the moment the bias voltage passes through it. It gets enlivened. So there's a similar way. How it gets enlivened? By all the things which are hidden inside it. All the things which you're seeing in the screen is in the chip. The chip, once gets activated by the bias voltage, is now projecting this world of virtual reality. Based on the suggestions in the keyboard, the way you're pressing the keyboard is the suggestions, which when the bias voltage is there, you press the keyboard, those suggestions can be projected as the world of virtual reality only when the bias voltage is there. When the bias voltage is not there, you can go on pressing the keyboard, nothing happens. Because the screen will be just blank unless and until the bias voltage is passing through that. So that's the idea. Till the Purusha is there as a constant, it is there. So that's the idea we will find very nicely that being indicated in this sutra. That's if somehow we can relate to that, go beyond the mind, then we find that there is no turmoil, no tension. It is you're always in the eternal present. Why eternal present? Because there is no decay, there is no change. How can we differentiate between the past and the future? Because of some change. If there is no change, if the present moment is exactly the same as the next moment, it is the eternal present. So once we go to that eternal present, then only we can enjoy the placidness. Just with a story, we will just end today's class. In the Sydney, when I was there for was quite a long time. So once a senior Swami was supposed to visit our center there. So we went to the airport, Sydney airport, and then we found, we didn't check before going, that flight was delayed by 1 hour or 1.5 hours. So we thought what to do. So near the Sydney airport, there is the bay, Botany Bay. So you can just, so we thought, why not just simply sitting here? Why not we go there and enjoy the scenic beauty of the ocean there? So myself and Brahmachari went there. We were enjoying this, wonderful, that by the ocean, that tranquil ocean, the light was glittering, the sunlight was falling, and that blue ocean, wonderful. And it made our mind tranquil. It will make anyone's mind tranquil. And just as we were passing, we saw a car parked, and we were curious. We looked, and we saw that in the driving seat, yes, someone is sitting. At the beginning, initially, we thought most probably he also is most probably enjoying. Why should he park the car just by the bay? Must be enjoying the ocean. And then we were really disgusted. We saw that in front of his eyes, there was a newspaper blocking the ocean. There's a newspaper. He was deeply absorbed in the newspaper. And we saw, oh, just is this the place to read newspaper? Such wonderful, tranquil scene is there. And in newspaper, what you read? It's either this politics or some war, Now, like Afghan war going on, war, politics, or some scandals, or sports. So that's what is happening. Why we don't enjoy the tranquility of the Purusha? In our mind, constantly is going on. Is what's going on? That newspaper, all the things of the newspaper is in our mind. That's what we have already opened up. Either war or politics or scandals or sports. What's the war going on? I had a fight with my colleague. I had a fight with my relations. That's the war. Politics, again, in the family, in the work, so many politics you find. And then your personal follies are like the scandals that destroy, that's constantly disturb you. And then the sport of the sensual pleasures is going on. Unless we can remove that, you can never enjoy the placidity of that ocean, the Purusha, who is always there. So that's the thing which is being indicated in this sutra. It speaks of the way of perception, but also it speaks of the sadhana. That once you can go beyond all this, then only you can enjoy the placidity of that aparinami Purusha. That aparinamitvat, the word has been mentioned, then only you can enjoy that. Before that, we can never know that the real bliss of life, which one can experience only by relating to that placidity. So from the 17th sutra, again, we will just take up a bit more elaborately the sutra in the next class, and then follow with the succeeding sutras. The succeeding sutras will actually speak of the idea which has already been spoken of in the 17th sutra, that mind itself is not conscious. Something must be behind it which is conscious. To justify it, these 3 sutras will be allocated, 18, 19, 20, through various reasons. It will prove that mind by itself is not conscious. There has to be some Purusha behind it. So that we will take up again in the next class. With this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.